Welcome back to my Legends Expanded Universe chronological timeline rating, where I go through the expanded universe according to my personal timeline order and rank each and every individual piece of media on a 10-point scale. And today I have Tales of the Jedi issue number 2. This was written by Tom Veitch with art by Chris Gossett, and it was published in 1993. This takes place in 4000 BBY, and it's a comic issue that was released by Dark Horse. And at the end of the last review, I incorrectly said that Uliq got in his ship to go see, or to go rescue the Princess Gallia, who's been kidnapped by the Beast Riders. Well, I was wrong. I was wrong. I don't know why I said that, because all 3 of the Jedi get in the ship. Uliq's just the person who leads them. So Uliq, Kay, and Taut Danita are all in the ship that is attacked and hit with a missile and is crashing. And so the ship crashes, and the Beast Riders observe, and they're like, that'll teach them to mess with us. And so the ship crashes, and the Jedi get out of their ship, and Kay is like, I can fix it, don't worry. And Taut Danita is like, well, we have much bigger problems. The bigger problems, as it turns out, are beasts surrounding the ship. But Taut Danita is able to communicate with them using the Force, and they are able to secure basically some beasts of burden to transport them around, which is pretty awesome. They turned a threat into a very positive gain for what they're trying to do here. And so there's this really great moment where Gallia is marrying the leader of the Beast Riders, or he's the son of the leader of the Beast Riders. The leader is Modon Kira, and he has a father named Draka or something like that. And then the Jedi burst in, and there's this great panel where Gallia, the princess, is marrying Modon Kira in a ceremony. And in the middle of this ceremony, the Jedi burst in on their mounts with their lightsabers brandished, and it looks really, really cool. And so Uliq swoops down and grabs Gallia up, and he's like, don't worry, I'm here to rescue you. You don't have to be forced into this marriage. And then she's like, no, put me down. I did actually want to get married to Modon Kira. That's the big twist. She was not kidnapped. If anything, she was rescued from Amanoa so that she could be with the Beast Riders here. So it's a very interesting twist, one that I did not see coming the first time around, and one that is equally fun reading this story again. So the Jedi are really confused. They're all around, like, when they hear that Gallia wants to get married to Modon Kira, they're all, it immediately puts a screeching halt to their plans, and they're all, what? They're just baffled by this. And so apparently they didn't have the foresight to see that coming. They're young Jedi, so I can give them a pass for this mistake. But so they have dinner with the rulers of the Beast Riders. Found out that the Beast Riders are not the savages. The Jedi thought they were coming to protect a town from the savage, evil Beast Riders, when it turns out the savage, evil Beast Riders are really fighting a righteous fight, because, as they reveal to the Jedi, King Amin and Queen Amanoa have been users of the dark side of the Force, and they explain that a Jedi several hundred years ago, as we saw the beginning of that story in the short story, The Tale of Frida Nad, the Dark Jedi, Frida Nad, brought dark side Force powers to Onderon. Because when they tell them that they have the dark side, the people in the city of Isis, the Jedi are confused, and they're like, but you just developed spaceflight travel. How is the dark side reaching you here? And they were puzzled. First of all, they thought the dark side was, the Sith teachings were eradicated with the genocide a couple hundred years back, and now they're finding out that it's existing heavily on Onderon. They're very confused, and so they explain that the Dark Jedi Frida Nad brought it to them and commanded that they stay isolated so that he could rule them separate from the Republic. So that's a very interesting story there. I really enjoyed that detail. And so the people who opposed the dark side, including his grandfather Draka, all of them got exiled, and that's why they became the Beast Riders. So then the Jedi are like, we've got to stop this bloody war. Too much blood has been shed. And so the Jedi travel to Isis with the princess on their ship so that Aminoa won't have their ship destroyed. So they get to Aminoa and are like, hey, your daughter's married to the Beast Riders, let's stop the war. And this only aggravates her, and she gets very angry about this. And so she's like, no, the war will not be stopped. And has this bit where she summons the power of Freedom Nad. I summon the power of Freedom Nad, and she lifts her arms over her head. And so then the Jedi are like, well, what do we do now? We've really failed so far. And so the Beast Riders swoop in and start an attack on Isis, their most aggressive assault yet. And so the Jedi are like, well, Arca-Jeth would probably want us to join in this battle. You know, the Beast Riders are fighting a righteous fight against the dark side. And so they do. But like it mentioned in the Tale of Novar story, Novar trained all of the guards and soldiers to know the basics of dark force power. So, dark side force power. So these warriors that fight against the Jedi and the Beast Riders and legions against the Jedi and the Beast Riders in these legions of soldiers here are incredibly powerful, and they manage to chop off Uliq-Qel Droma's arm. And there's a funny panel where Uliq's like, no, my brother, what am I going to do? You're going to die. And then Kay's like, don't be silly, it's just an arm, I'm going to survive. I thought that was humorous. And then he takes the prosthetic of a droid and tinkers it to his arm, because now he's going to have a metal arm throughout the rest of these stories. So Kay certainly looks really cool when he has this metal arm going forward. And so as they're fighting this battle, Arca-Jeth shows up in a ship. All of a sudden they're like, it's Master Arca's ship, which is definitely a sigh of relief for these young Jedi who were kind of in over their heads, fighting a battle on the opposite side of the forces that they were going to prevent. It's a great story, the way that it's unfolded. And so Arca leads the Jedi to the, shows up, instantly takes control, and leads the Jedi down to the tunnels beneath the city of Isis and the palace itself, which we've seen being used in all of the short stories prior to this. And they go down and find the tomb of Frida Nad, which Aminoa is at, trying to summon his spirit. And Aminoa gets killed because the power of the dark side leaves her. And so she withers up and dies, and Gallia's there, and she's like, I don't care how evil my mother was, I loved her, and you killed her. And Arca's like, I didn't kill her, the dark side left her. And that's how she died here. And so Queen Aminoa crumples up and dies. And so a happy ending. Arca frees Aminoa. The spirit of Frida Nad is seemingly vanquished. And happy ending. So the son of the leader of the Beast Riders and Gallia have a new ceremony at the end. And then some heavy foreshadowing for the following comics is Uliq says to his master while Tot Danita flexes his new prosthetic arm, Uliq asks Arca, how could it be that a Jedi trained in the light could fall to the darkness? And Arca says, it could happen easier than you would think. And then he says to Uliq, pray, my boy, that it never happens to you. Very heavy foreshadowing, but still enjoyable nonetheless. And that's where this two-part story ends. It's a good adventure. Overall, this arc is quite fun. I do really enjoy this saga in these two-part issues. I think the second issue is stronger than the first issue. It's a little more action. It's faster paced because the first one was, building the story a little bit more. But in this one, we get some twists, some turns. The plot twists were pretty good, I have to say. Some shock, some explanations for what's going on, some nice payoffs. The second issue is really good. I think it's probably better than the first issue. And that is why I have to give this issue, out of 10, a 7.5. Tales of the Jedi issue number 2 is solid stuff, and I highly recommend it to everyone. This is a great way to start off the Tales of the Jedi comics release order-wise. It really started very solid in these first 2 issues. But then there's going to be a brief interlude where I'm going to talk about some short stories in the next episode. And then back to issue number 3, which will be the saga of Nomi Sunrider. So it's kind of interesting because the first 5 issues divided the story into 2 separate stories. Even though it's the first story arc, technically the first 5 issues, 2 separate storylines occur. One in the first 2 issues and one in the latter 3 issues. And then in later story arcs, we'll see where they connect. So issue number 2, very, very solid stuff. But what about you guys? What did you think of Tales of the Jedi issue number 2? Did you think it was better than a 7.5 or worse than a 7.5? Let me know.
Honey.